Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durban, and I'm going to read way too much into Ben-Hur, the old one from 1959, Charlton Heston. Yeah, that one. I actually rented that thing on Amazon, watched it, and I gotta tell you, movies are made so different now. This movie opened with a 6-minute overture. Like, I kid you not. It's just this background. It says overture, and it's just 6 minutes of the musical score. Like when you go to see a play and they do the musical overture, so you recognize the music when it comes back later. It's that. Fascinating. The overall story is this. You have Ben-Hur and you have this guy Masala. I think that's how you say his name. So Masala is Roman, Ben-Hur is Jewish. And basically, they don't really show this, but somehow Masala as a child saves Ben-Hur as a child. They become such best friends that they are practically brothers. Like Ben-Hur's family, like just pretty much adopts him and takes him in as one of their own, even though he's got his own family. Point is, they all grow up, and Ben-Hur is filthy, stinking rich beyond imagination. He lives in this magnificent palace and all this stuff. Like, he's just wealth. And the other guy became this Roman soldier, which was just this dream. He became a tribune. He ended up leading a legion. I mean, this guy ended up accomplishing all of his dreams. When Masala comes back to Jerusalem after a long time being away, after becoming a tribune in Rome and all that stuff, he's a changed man. Like, he is all for the glory of Rome. And basically, because Ben-Hur is so rich and such a well-known love figure in the Jewish community, and in that part of the world, they're not worshiping the Roman gods, they're worshiping the one God, and, you know, it's causing a lot of problems for Rome. Here is Masala hoping to make himself look awesome by enlisting Ben-Hur's help and getting Ben-Hur to get the people to accept Rome, to accept to accept the Roman gods. And Ben-Hur's like, no, I'm not gonna sell out my people. And because of that fundamental difference, they end up becoming enemies. That's kind of the story. And then Ben-Hur's sister, they're up on the roof, they're watching the new Roman governor coming to Jerusalem. The sister accidentally hits a loose tile on the roof. It falls to the ground, spooks the horse, knocks out the governor. They all take this as an attack. And Masala, rather than being like, he's my friend, it was harmless. Nope. He took everything from Ben-Hur. Sold Ben-Hur into slavery. Ben-Hur's mom and sister, they were just thrown into a dungeon and the key was thrown away. And 4 years pass. Ben-Hur's a slave. He becomes a rower and he's rowing the boats and all that stuff. And earns the respect of this Roman guy because he saves this Roman guy. Okay, it's 3 hours and 42 minutes long. There is so much to this story. Suffice it to say, he and this Roman guy become really close. So the Roman guy adopts him as a son, and so in that way, Ben-Hur gets his wealth back because he becomes heir to this Roman guy's stuff. He uses that to get back to Jerusalem, where he does the horse racing because he so flippin' wants vengeance against this guy for taking everything from him and taking his family far away. In the process of this, his mother and his sister in the dungeons acquire leprosy. So what was fascinating to me about this is when Ben-Hur gets his vengeance, when he's standing there and he's watching his old friend die in agony after getting trampled by horses in the race and all that stuff, vengeance was not satisfying to Ben-Hur. It didn't make him feel any better. All he did was take all that anger and all that rage and he shifted it. He took the blame and he shifted it. The blame for losing everything was on Masala. When Masala died, he realized he still loved Masala. So what happened was he shifted the blame to Rome and began to disown Rome, disowned it to Pilate. I mean, that's what anger and vengeance does. When he got it on the guy who he just put the blame on everything, it wasn't enough and it wasn't satisfying. And the bitterness was just deep rooted in him. And so he shifted that anger onto something else. There's this really powerful scene where there's this girl, Esther, who he's kind of in love with. And there's this like poignant scene where she's like, you have become Masala. You have become everything that you hate and that you stand against. But that's what vengeance and that's what bitterness, that's what hatred does. It doesn't make us better people. It eats away. It turns us to stone. It takes us and transforms us into something we shouldn't be. All the while, there's something that is a splinter in Ben-Hur's mind. When he was first sold as a slave, he was going through the desert. He was hot. He was thirsty. He thought he was going to die of thirst. And as he falls to the ground in Nazareth, just ready just to die because they're not giving him any water, he goes, oh God, help me. And then Jesus shows up, and Jesus just walks right up with a thing of water, wets his face, gives him water to drink. This soldier walks up, hey, don't give that guy water. I mean, like, there's just that moment. They never show Jesus' face, which I thought was really interesting. So you're seeing the back of Jesus' head, and you're only seeing this soldier's reaction. But the kindness that Jesus showed him, it was just that one tiny, simple act of kindness. And it was like a splinter in his mind, this splinter of good. It was this thing that, as you see throughout the movie, he talks about it like 3 or 4 more times. He was so amazed by Jesus' grace and kindness to give him, a condemned slave, this drink of water. It never, ever, ever left his mind. So now we fast forward, and he finds out his mom and his sister have leprosy, and, you know, his day goes from bad to worse. His vengeance was unsatisfying. His anger has now moved over to another place, and now his mom and sister are dying, and he sees them in their leprosy, and it's terrible. So they decide they need to get them to Jesus because they've heard about Jesus, they've heard about his miracles, and they have yet another disappointment. They get there just as he's carrying his cross up the hill. I mean, what's going to happen there? But he recognizes Jesus' face. And it's just a really cool scene where once he recognizes Jesus as the guy that showed him kindness in the beginning, he was desperate to show Jesus the same kindness. And when he got the chance to give Jesus water, he took it. But that's how much that one thing that Jesus did truly impacted him. So to me, that was a really interesting thing to read into this. This is a guy turning into stone. This is a guy becoming everything he hates because he's letting the hate drive him. But a genuine encounter with Jesus changed him. A genuine encounter with Jesus kept him from going over that edge. So in the end, when he sees Jesus crucified and he hears Jesus' words on the cross, "Father, forgive them. They do not know what they're doing." When he hears those words, he says to Esther at the end of the movie, "It took the sword out of his hands." Those words that this guy was asking God to forgive the people who tortured him and were killing him and nailed him to a cross. When he said, "Forgive them," it utterly disarmed him. So he had the seed from the water, and in just that moment, and hearing the words of Jesus, disarmed him. Of course, it doesn't help the hatred in his heart to come home and find his mom and sister healed of leprosy. I mean, that just killed the rest of it. And that was awesome symbology they did right there. Like the sky goes dark, they're covered in leprosy, and then they're healed, like a lightning flash, and they're healed. And then you see that they're healed, and it cuts over to the blood of Jesus, and you see it running down the cross. It was amazing. And then it starts to rain, and you know that the rain was really just symbolic of that healing rain, that renewing rain, that washing away of the old and giving way to the new. You know that's what that symbolizes. And it's just so fit what I was reading into this too, because you get to see physically on the mother and sister the way that disease and that leprosy that was changing and mutating their physical appearance was cleansed away. In the same way, the hatred that was mutating and killing the inside of Ben-Hur was stripped away and he was healed. And it was all because of this genuine encounter with Jesus. You know, we humans, including myself, we a lot of times just do a great job misrepresenting him. But when you have a true, genuine encounter with Jesus, it is life-changing, it is healing, and it is awesome. I can't wait to see the new Ben-Hur. I'm pretty anxious to see what they're going to do with it. It has a kind of gladiator feel to it to me, so I kind of feel like that's the route they're going to go. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I hope it lives up. I hope it's really good, so I can't wait to see that. Are you excited to see the brand new Ben-Hur movie? Be sure to let me know in the comments, and while you're there, hit that subscribe button to be on top of all the new videos and things like that that are coming out here. I'm Durban. Thanks for checking out Durbania.